A gorgeous California sunset offers a first look at a showcase of the Sims best after 4 months of absence and a return to ERA's biggest stage. We're live tonight from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. We welcome you to the 2022 eRacing Association Omega Cup Fallbowl and our pre-race show presented by Equity Prime Mortgage. Excited for what's in store. We're ready to bring it all to you right here on iRacing. We're alongside NASCAR driver Jesse Uji and Joe Peak. My name is Kenneth Bueno. We'll have Ryan Bauer being our producer this evening. He's using cameras created by Gary Sexton. Well, to turn it to you first, Jesse Uji, it's been a couple of months since the ERA held an Omega Cup, and it happened a couple of months ago back at the Road America circuit. This time, though, we get to shorten things down. A lot of excitement for ERA as a whole, and a lot of money being awarded to these drivers tonight as they get to put on some great showings here tonight from the Irwindale Speedway.
Yeah, Ken, we have a lot of great drivers racing tonight, and it's pretty cool to see all these sim racers getting together and battling for that opportunity to win part of that $5,000 prize pool. There are not a lot of events out there which give away $5,000. I mean, this is real cash prizes. These aren't IOUs. These aren't credits. These aren't gift cards. This is real hard cash that you can use to do whatever you want. I mean, you could upgrade your simulator, upgrade your computer, you name it. And we have a lot of great partners on board that help support this, including Equity Prime Mortgage. I'm looking forward to a really good race because Irwindale creates a lot of great racing. All the drivers who are in this sim racing, these aren't just video gamers. These aren't just folks who just hopped in, have never done this and all of a sudden are just racing. These are folks who have been practicing for weeks, getting ready for tonight's event. They are nervous, they're hot, they're sweaty. I mean, they're ready to get after it, just like real life racing drivers. And that's the cool thing about simulator racing is that it really simulates real life. It gets as close as possible without it actually being possible. The cool thing is, when you're in the sim, if you make a mistake and you hit a wall or something like that, it doesn't cost you any extra money. And also you won't get hurt. So that's the great thing about doing on the sim. But I'm looking forward to an amazing race. This is going to be a really, really interesting night, especially here on this short track. And looks like we got a NASCAR driver or two who's in this race. And it's going to be pretty fun to see how they do. Looking forward to watching how this whole entire field races tonight.
And I'll pivot to you next, Joe Peak. Irwindale Speedway, the stage for all these drivers to chase for that $5,000 cash prize pool at the end of the night. It's the first time that Irwindale has ever made an appearance here in this ERA Omega Cup Bowl in its entirety. We've got the NASCAR Next Gen cars as well. It's a couple with this track tonight, so it's a unique combo and a very interesting challenge for all of the drivers, whether they're pro or not in the field.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is you're not going to have a lot of people that can lean on a whole bunch of experience because the next gen car, though I wouldn't call it super new on the sim anymore, it's not something that gets used with Irwindale usually. So it'll probably toss at least a wrench in a few people's plans and trying to get adjusted to this, and also make it difficult because this is a half-mile short track that tends towards the high line. So passing is going to be at a premium. Expect them to really need track position to have a good day.
First time Irwindale is here in this Omega Cup in its entirety, but also the first time in a long time, Jesse, that we've had a short track in the Omega Cup at all. Dated back 1 year ago where we went to the Bristol Motor Speedway, but ever since we've gone to bigger tracks. So it has been a little bit for these guys to go short track racing, and I can only imagine the energy and maybe the anxiety for a majority of the field is definitely there when you pack 40 plus cars in to a half-mile track like this.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of cars on this track. It's only a half mile, a little bit different than some of the other tracks that we've raced on. We've raced on road courses, super speedways, short tracks, you name it. And when you come to these short tracks, it really produces some great racing, especially at a place like Irwindale Speedway where it's multi-groove and it's variable banking. So, the higher the line that you're running, the more banking you actually have on the track. This is a place that rewards people who run against the wall. It's a place that can also reward people who know how to get down to the bottom and use the bottom as well. But all these drivers are going to be fighting to try to get into that top five. If you're in that top five, you're winning part of that money. Also, too, if you finish inside the top 10, your name is actually going to go on a real life race car race car that Jesse Wuji Motorsports has racing. And we'll get those names on there. It'll be a pretty cool experience for those guys and girls, whoever's competing in this event. But a really cool experience for them to get their name on a real life race car that races in NASCAR on TV, NASCAR Xfinity Series. And it's something that you only get when you race in the eRacing Association events.
Only a fraction of the excitement, really, Jesse, for ERA as a whole and this Omega Cup Fall Bowl in 2022. Well, in the ERA Omega Cup Bowl history, there's only been one driver in its entirety that's ever won more than one race. That goes to Vicente Salas. We've got a driver in this field who's looking to be the second driver to join that list. And joining us now is Bobby Zalenski, or should I say now Championship 4 eligible Bobby Zalenski, after a stunning win last night in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series at Talladega. Bobby, you are the defending winner of the Omega Cup Bowl dating back a couple of months at Road America. You got the win last night. How high is the momentum riding on your shoulders going into this race at Irwindale?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just with the way it was won, I don't know how much of momentum I can take with it. But I gotta say, I'm feeling positive. We got a good little grid spot here to start this race, and won the last one in May. So, I feel like I got nothing to lose tonight. I'm just gonna go out here, have some fun, and try to make some more money.
And obviously, with you being an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver, you have a lot of experience behind the wheel of this NASCAR Next Gen car, but this car usually doesn't take usual trips to this Irwindale Speedway. So what challenges are you expecting to find behind the wheel over the course of this feature race as the sun begins to set and as the track begins to change?
The setup we have does drive a little bit funky, so just making sure not make mistakes, mainly on entry with locking up a front tire. The challenge is going to be track position, though, and trying to maintain it with the best tires possible, because it seems like this high line is going to be the place to be. And whenever you're on a track where the high line is the best, it's really hard to pass. So wouldn't be surprised if you see some guys out there getting a little impatient, trying to move people out of the way.
And I'm going to turn to what you mentioned there. Gain a little more money, $5,000 of the prize pool on the line, $4,000 to the driver who crosses the start-finish line first. If you end up in that situation and you cross the finish line first out of everybody else, what is that money going to? Is there anything in mind you have, or are you just going to let it rock and just find out when it happens?
I haven't really thought about it. I know last time my answer was like, I was in the middle of a move, so just paying rent and paying bills and stuff. But things are a little more stable now. I don't know. I'll figure out something cool to do with it. Try to make more money with it, ideally. But I didn't think about it till now, honestly.
All right, so 150 laps here at the Irwindale Speedway. Not necessarily the longest race out of anything, but still a little bit to worry about when it comes down to making sure you are having a longevity over the long run. And you got a bunch of drivers around you. Anybody in particular looking to eye on, maybe to race a little bit closer or just have a little bit of fun with?
I don't know. I mean, I know I raced Vicente and Garrett really hard at the Road America race, so I'm sure we'll all run into it with each other. And Briar's up there on pole, so see how it goes.
All right, well, Bobby, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us. Of course, wishing you the best of luck in this ERA Omega Cup Fall Bowl in 2022, and hope things go well on the track tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
So that is Bobby Zalenski sporting that very colorful interstate battery scheme. And Jesse, Bobby, one of the veterans in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And like we said earlier, the winner at Road America. So there's a lot to look forward to if you're a Bobby Zalenski fan, or if you're Bobby Zalenski himself. There's a lot going for him positively right now, and I'm sure he's going to use some of that tonight.
Yes, he is. And he's a great driver. Watching him at Road America in our event earlier this year, just to see him lay down those laps, especially at a difficult track like that in this Gen 7 car, but do it so consistently. I mean, I think from start of the race to the end of the race, he wasn't more than maybe a second off of his original pace or so, maybe two at worst, where everybody else had fallen off at least 3 seconds or so, sometimes 4 seconds. So to watch this guy just on the track and the magic that he's able to do with these cars, cars and manage the tires and still keep his pace. I mean, it's incredible. But these folks who race, Coca-Cola Series and some of these other leagues that are on iRacing, some of these guys are really, really good. They have a lot of experience, and watching them at the different tracks that they go to, even if it's one they haven't even really been to before in this car, they still are able to put on an amazing show, race really well, and are super, super ultra consistent. But that's what it takes to come out here and potentially win. It's that consistency, coming out here, being smart, not doing anything crazy in the first few laps. In order to finish first, you must first finish. But it's all about that grind. It's who can make it to the end, who can be there at the end, and who can be consistent as possible to fall into that top 5.
Well, we are only a handful of moments from setting these stars out to the green flag here from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. Don't go anywhere. We've got more, but thank you so much for watching our pre-race show, the ERA Omega Cup Fallbowl, brought to you by Equity Prime Mortgage. We've got a bunch of things coming soon, and the green flag in just a little bit.
What a tremendous experience. I got to visit with the team.
Sophie said she had an absolute blast.
We're watching everything. You can smell the burnt tires.
If you're a race fan, I go, it does not compare to being anywhere else.
This is my first time at a NASCAR race. I'm here with team number 34. I've never been so close to the pits. The action is absolutely wild.
A great day to race like a kid again. There's nothing better than coming out here, having a first-class experience with Jesse Abuchi Motorsports.
It's like you're part of the team. You're involved. You're seeing what's going on. You're seeing all the numbers. You're smelling all the rubber. You're right with the racers. You are right in the pit, and it's incredible. I've never been a big NASCAR fan, but after this, I'll definitely be back.
Incredible experience. Nothing compares to being up close and personal with the pit crews and the race team.
The hairs on my arm stood up when I got over there that close. It was incredible.
From the grandstands, you're just watching it from a fan's point of view. When you're in the pit area, you're having more of a feeling of being with the crew.
The guys, they're so quick. It was fun just seeing it up close in action. You see it on TV, but it's nothing like it is seeing it in real life.
Beyond words how that team comes together so quick. Everybody puts their input in and gets that car back out on the road in literally seconds.
Quite the experience to be that close to the race, watching this, the stats on the board, and just meeting all the great people on this team.
What an amazing day. What an amazing race. What an amazing crew.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Welcome back to coverage of the EPM Omega Cup Fallbowl for 2022 as part of the eRacing Association. Ready to get things started here from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. Kenneth Bueno, Jesse Iwuji, and Joe Peak along with you for the ride. Warm-up has just started. A bunch of drivers putting in laps. But Joe, let's take a look as to where we are in the virtual world first. Irwindale Speedway in Irwindale, California. A beautiful track, a beautiful setting, but a very interesting track to drive behind the wheel.
Absolutely, and I alluded to it earlier. It's got that high line because, as you can see, progressive banking. Yeah, it's got 12 degrees, but it gets super shallow down at the bottom. If you see anybody try to cut low, they're going to understeer like crazy down there. So it's going to be hard to try and get the throttle down. It's really going to be mostly about trying to work yourself into the racing line and getting your rivals off of there. But half mile with 40 cars, there's not going to be a lot of space to maneuver. So it's going to be your typical short track style of racing. You got to get your elbows out.
Irwindale the stage, but then we'll turn to our format as we go to our race analysis. It's $5,000 in the prize pool, $4,000, Jesse, to the winner of the race. That's going to be huge. We go 150 laps, 75 miles, 120 kilometers, 3 green-white checkered attempts if we need them. But also one thing to note, along with that prize pool that's just as important, the one faster pair, very vital with a short track where contact is certainly almost inevitable.
Contact is definitely inevitable, especially when you're racing at a short track, especially a short track like this, where everybody that has the preferred groove, which is that high line, they'll all be up there. They'll all be racing really hard. Some people might move the others out of the way. There's really not that much space up there. Even though you can go 3 wide into the corner, it's not going to work out for somebody on the end because everybody wants to get back up to that high line some way, somehow. So it's going to be very interesting to watch that. And that one fast repair is going to be crucial. We'll see who's able to use it. And hopefully people got enough practice today. And hopefully they got enough practice at some of our other events that we've had. And we've actually been running every 2 weeks doing these exhibition fun runs. So hopefully people were jumping into those fun runs. If you haven't jumped into a fun run, make sure you jump into one at some later dates because we have these fun runs going on pretty much every 2 weeks throughout the year. And we actually put some names of folks who have been on the fun runs on the Jesse Iwuji Motorsports number 34 race car in some of the races. So hop into the fun runs, have some fun, practice, and get ready for these events.
Certainly going to be a lot of fun here tonight from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. Well, Jesse, I will turn it back to you because the anticipation is building up and the on-track festivities before we get started are already underway. Pre-race ceremony is up next.
And we are going to kick this off with the national anthem sung by my wonderful sister, Emenderlin Iwuji, and we'll kick it off to her.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we have had the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And now for the most famous words in motorsports, let's turn it down to former WWE superstar Ted DiBiase Jr. for the command.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, sizes, backgrounds, Ted DiBiase Jr. here, former WWE superstar, coming at you tonight, coming in hot, and it is my honor to get this party started tonight. I'm ready to see who's gonna take home the money. So, without further ado, drivers, start your engines!
All fired up and ready to go for this 2022 EPM Omega Cup Fall Bowl from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. And we are only just a handful of moments before Barney the Flagman gives us the green and sets the field off for 150 laps. We'll see exactly who gets the $4,000 cash prize at the end of it and who else occupies the top 5 for a lot of prizes other than the cash prize that we'll have here tonight. In this race, drivers are ending the warm-up session. We are just a handful of moments away from officially bringing you down to the starting grid. And And we'll have an advancement here in just a couple of moments. Drivers already putting in their qualifying times. We've already got our grid preset. Just going to get ready for everyone to hop in 2 by 2 all over. But we've got 40 plus drivers in this grid, Jesse. So that means a big field, a very small track, and a lot of drivers very hungry for all the rewards when the checkered flag waves.
It is about to get extremely exciting. These drivers are ready to go. I know they're just itching to get that green flag waving so that they can go after that $5,000 prize pool that they all very much deserve. But only 5 people will be part of that prize pool. So we'll see who the top 5 ends up being at the end of the race. And I know all the fans and all the spectators who are watching today from their cell phones, from their computers, from the laptops, from their tablets, you name it, all of them are watching. All of them are going to have a good time. And if you are watching right now at home, make sure you comment on the streams wherever you're at. We are going to pick some random commenters in the spectator area, and they're going to get some cool prizes. So stay tuned so you can learn a little bit more about what those cool prizes will be.
Well, let's start the process to deciding the top 5 in the prize pool, shall we? As we'll take it to the track and show you your starting grid, see exactly where every driver will be lining up here tonight for 150 laps in this EPM Omega Cup Fall Bowl. On pole will be eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver for Junior Motorsports, Brian LaPrade, with the fastest time out of them all, 17.891. He will be the first to see the green, and he has also eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver Garrett Maines to his outside in row number 1. Vicente Salas rolls off into P3 inside row number 2 tonight from Irwindale. He will have the former winner of an Omega Cup Bowl in the summer, Bobby Zelensky, looking to go 2 in a row and join the group with Vicente Salas as the only 2 drivers to win more than 1 Omega Cup Bowl race. Colin Bowden starts inside the top 5. He will have Derek Fulton in the 7 to his outside in P6. Jason Maines starts tonight from 7th. He will have eNASCAR Coke Series driver Zach Novak to his outside before you find Julio Villalobos Jr. in the 78 into P9 and Kyle Weatherman, Joe Peak to round out your top 10.
Indeed, Austin Edwards will be in 11th today as Alex Thurber starts from 12th. Michael Sturgill will be P13. On his outside, he's got Cody Smith. Then it's Raul Alves in 15th position. Bryce Cobbler starts P16, followed by Kyle Wisner. To his outside, Colin Keister will then have Guillaume Heno in 19th place, and Garrett Conrath rounds out your top 20.
A lot of work that Colin Keister needs to do, the Charlotte Phoenix esports driver, as he rolls off there. Rocky Boyd III starts 21st. He will have Joe Turkel to his outside in 22nd before you find the drivers lined up in row number 12. Nicholas Compton in the 80, Christopher Reagan in the 4 machine. Austin Jackson, Richard Woodruff, the 17 and the 27 start 25th and 26th. It'll be Sid Waters in 27th. On his outside will be Mike Sturgill in the 21. Jason Rashcock starts 29th, and to your top 30, Joe, is Matt Johnson.
Josh McKinney will qualify 31st as Braden Black will start in 32nd. Luis Vega, P33. Christopher Heights starts from the 34th position, followed by Aaron Ramon. Jason Alexander starts from 36. Only 2 more cars with times. Chris Papa and Jake Balmain. Cody Beasley did not set a time, and I do not see him in the session, so I think he may be a did not start for today.
So those are the 40 drivers lined up and ready to go here from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. You can see some of the drivers already weaving left and right, trying to warm up the tires before we officially get the green flag. Lights are off on the iRacing official pace car. So once we get out of turn 4, pace car will be down, and it'll be all on Brian LaPrade and Garrett Maines' discretion to bring the field to green. We've talked about the progressive banking here at this Irwindale Speedway, the multiple grooves that can be used. We'll see just how far the field spreads when it comes down to that inside versus outside lane. They're already tucked up against the outside wall, and as Brian LaPrade enters turn 4 and exits, we wave the green flag for the 2022 EPM Omega Cup Fall Bowl from Irwindale Speedway. And already car around, 1 car sideways in the middle of the field. Caution flag out. Michael Sturgill, the first one in trouble.
Yeah, it's looking like he got turned around somehow in that 3 car, trying to figure out exactly what got him spun. And I don't think he actually had any contact. Now, this is definitely easy to do around here if you're trying to be over-eager on cold tires into this first corner. And Jesse, you might be able to speak more on this, but I found that if you try and just chuck the car in a little too hard, it's going to get loose even though you're way up on that high banking.
And that's exactly what happened right there. I mean, I'm watching it. Looks like he just got just a little bit too aggressive there. He whipped it a little bit to the outside, and while, you know, transferring away, turning it back in, the car did not like that because he's also on the brakes at the same time on the entry of that corner. He might have locked up the rears just a little bit. Some of these guys are rolling the brake bias back to the rear a little bit. He probably locked it up a little bit, got sideways, and that was it. And next thing you know, he was spinning into the wall, and other people got collected. So we'll see how much damage that was for some of these other cars and how much that affects them, because they all have just one fast repair. So do you use it right now or do you wait?
It's certainly a debate put up, and the 29 Bryce Cobbler got involved in that. Same deal for Joe Turkel, and same deal for the 21 machine as well. All of them basically just stacked up on the outside wall, trying to avoid it. All of them immediately hopping on the brakes, and Mike Sturgill, the first driver officially, or Michael Sturgill rather. There are two Sturgills in this race. Michael Sturgill in the 3, the first one around, and already our first caution waves before we can even get 2 corners in from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. And much like the race started, Brian LaPrade is going to hold control of the field. But Jesse, that situation there, just diving it a little bit too hard into the corner, and you have some experience at Irwindale Speedway. What is it like to manage the discipline and the patience here at a track like this?
Yeah, it definitely takes patience here at this track. You know, just like any other short track, you know, it's going to be a lot of bumping and grinding, right? There's a lot of cars on the track. It's a small track. You don't really get spread out like that, especially at a place like this. You know, you're at some point, any point of the race, whether you're in first or you're in last, you're going to be battling against somebody. You're either going to be passing someone, getting passed by someone, or right there neck and neck with someone. So it's definitely a tough place to race for sure, but also a really fun track to race as well. So yeah, I think we're going to see some interesting moments here. For me, you know, I've raced late models here. I've raced NASCAR K&N series here. I probably have at least, you know, somewhere between 12 and 15 starts here at this track. So it's a fun place. I liked it a lot, but we're about to get ready to go green here in a moment.
Indeed we are. We'll see if we can get one clean lap here with Brian LaPrade and Garrett Maines still on your front row, and same formation as the opening jump. EPM green flag back in the air. Brian LaPrade will lead him off into turn 1. Vicente Salas already looking for some ground to make up. He's on the bottom side of Garrett Maines, and Joe Peak as the whole field fans out. Salas looking for the lead entering turn 3.
Yeah, but he's on that bottom side as we were talking about. You'll see him struggle here coming off the corner. He's looking, he falls back behind Maines in that 31 machine already. Ooh, they're going to take it 3 wide for the lead, and he's actually contact.
And Salas goes around, got a little too eager out of the corner, made contact with Brian LaPrade as they were 3 wide at a turn 2. And already just a couple of laps after we got our first caution, Vicente Salas is the victim on our second as we approach lap number 9 of 150. And as we go through turn 2, Jesse, when we talk about how hard it is to pass here on the bottom side of this Irwindale Speedway, Vicente trying to prove everybody wrong, and then here comes Garrett Maines, and then they pack it all together, and the slight contact is what sends Salas around.
Yeah, Vicente's a really good racer, but right there, I think he just got a little too greedy. I know what he was trying to do. I think I saw what he was seeing, but I think maybe he would have thought the driver next to him was going to clear the one on his right side, and that just wasn't going to happen. So going 3 wide, especially coming out turn 2 right there, it's difficult. Things like that can happen. I know he's probably kicking himself right now. It's like, oh man, I should have been a little bit more patient, but track position's everything here. So he was trying to see if he could clear him, get in front of him, and control this race.
You know what interested me the most about that sequence out of turn 2 was not necessarily the contact between Vicente Salas and Brian LaPrade. It more so was the run that Garrett Maines got out of turn 2, because most of all, here at the Irwindale Speedway, you'd mostly be reluctant to just hold that outside the whole way around the racetrack, and when you come out of the corner, you don't really alter your line. It looked like Brian LaPrade, Jesse, might have just tried to weave it down in the middle lane, maybe get a better arc, better run out of the corner. It's just that Garrett Maines caught him at the right moment, found the way to get some more momentum, and that's what forced them 3 wide.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one, and it's just tough because everybody's fighting. Everybody wants to control the race. So we're about to go green again. We'll see how far we can go.
So this time, Garrett Maines, a control car on the restart, and already they are going at it, but caution flag will wave before we get to turn 1. Bryce Cobbler, Garrett Conrath involved in a mess, and they immediately drop track position a couple of cars sideways there. There's a look at Cobbler in the 29. I believe he might have been a part of that first incident where he had stacked up against the outside wall, but I think, Joe Peak, the problem might have arisen earlier than the 29.
Yeah, it was the 9 car of Conrath that started it all off, and he was kind of plugging up the outside line. So that's what Cobbler ran into out there. It was on the start. I think this was simply, you see on the replay there, just the 42 to his bottom side, and he tried to cut down to get a good launch on the restart, and unfortunately just touched him enough that it unsettled the car, and that just kind of sent him the rest of the way around.
Just somewhat of the dirt track style restart to get where everyone just goes on that high side, then tries to immediately arc it out of turn 4. Conrath thought he could do it, but the 42 did not have the same memo in mind. They make contact, and there's a huge slam already there to the 29 of Bryce Cobbler, who's involved in 2 of our 3 cautions so far here tonight from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. And we talked about, Jesse, on our race analysis, that one faster pair that is given to each and every driver tonight. I figure Bryce Cobbler in the 29 may be reaching out to that faster pair. The only thing is, we're only 15 laps into this 150-lap race, so while you use it, you can get a fresh car, but it's so early in the race, you don't know what's going to happen from here all the way to lap 150.
Unless the damage is affecting your speed where you're falling off, anywhere from like a half second or so or more, then you'll probably want to go use that faster pair. But if your times aren't really falling off that much, even if you're maybe a 10th or 2 slower, I would just be patient because you never know what's going to happen later, and you don't want to use it too early. All of a sudden, 20 more laps in, you really, really need it. So, be patient depending on how much damage is there. You really just got to watch your lap times and see how much you fall off. Really, that's the only way to gauge it.
So as the lights are on the iRacing official pace car, we have word from race control that we will have a single file restart. So we'll let everybody get their laps back if they were just behind the iRacing official pace car, not your race leader, Garrett Maines and Brian LaPrade. As you look at Raul Alves in his 8 machine, a beautiful looking car here, Jesse. And, with the eRacing series, gorgeous. You have free reign to do whatever you want with your paint schemes, and this is a gorgeous one. The green, black, and white. It's a tale of old and new, the Rowdy Energy and the city logos. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing to make it look better is if it had Coca-Cola logos all over it, but hey, it's not my choice for his car.
It's a beautiful car, though, and Alves will be here in we'll look exactly where he is. He's P11 on the racetrack right now. He is going to be single file with the majority of the field, led by the 31 of Garrett Maines, who will come out at turn 4. Pace car is already down, and he will bring us to an EPM restart here. At lap 18 of 150, clear ahead, the 31 goes. It's a fight between Brian LaPrade and Bobby Zelensky for second. And how about Zach Novak, Joe Peak, looking to the inside of Colin Bowden?
I was going to say, I immediately shot my eyes down to that 5 car because he was going right to the bottom, the 28, excuse me. The only one willing to experiment, and then decides against it because he's back up to the high line with everybody else. So we're going to see a lot of this single file as we check with the onboard of Zach and starting to get some laps in. No, he's gonna try it again.
Wow.
All the way to the very inside. I thought he was just going to stay on the outside of the white line, Jesse, but he is taking all the ground he can make up. It kind of reminds me of the Phoenix Raceway a couple years back when everybody would just run the apron and find some grip there. I think that's what Zach Novak is doing, looking for some experimentation, trying to find as much speed as he can.
That is very interesting and very brave to go all the way down there. I mean, it's one thing in real life to go down there because it's really easy to kind of feel it. But when you're, on the simulator, things aren't always completely like it is in real life. So there might not be any grip at all. And oh my goodness, he barely nicks the wall. I don't know how much damage that's going to be. We'll find out.
That was Kyle Weatherman that got loose out of turn 2, hits the inside wall. He is out of the racing surface, though, so we will stay green. Race control does not decide to throw the yellow flag, and here we have a potential battle for the race lead. On board with your pole sitter, Brian LaPrade, as he tries to get closer to the back bumper, Jesse, of Garrett Maines in the 31. You can tell LaPrade wants that spot back. Lost it in the opening jump of the race, and he needs it if he wants to be in clean air.
He wants that spot back really, really bad, and it's really, these cars sound amazing on here, by the way. I just gotta say, and we got a caution now. Somebody stuck in the wall right there on the racing surface. Like I was saying, these cars sound absolutely amazing. To hear them here, the track looks amazing. Irwindale's a beautiful place. We have that California sun setting, and this is an awesome time to have a race. But man, these battles, they're getting intense. I mean, people are all over the place. People are spinning. People are getting loose. I mean, it's hard to control these cars. People are getting into each other, and that's when things like that happen, as we can see in the replay.
Some drivers welcome that challenge of having a car that is hard to drive. Unfortunately, though, it's not a single car incident here with the 21 of Mike Sturger. He gets a bit of contact from the 29 of Bryce Collier. They hit once, they hit twice, and then the 21 just goes sideways, locks up the brakes. So it does a nice job, Joe Peak, to avoid the outside wall. But then, you know, it makes me think again about how tough it is to make up track position on that bottom side. That 21 was there on the outside, the 29 was looking down low, and then when you try to have two different lines converging at once, you're inevitably going to have that contact. And for Mike Sturgill, he got the short end of the stick for this yellow.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it just is going to keep compounding because we've had this many yellows up to this point. That means that track position is becoming ever more important, because if you don't have green flag laps, you're not going to have laps that you can pass each other. Guys are going to get more aggressive. They're going to try and make some moves that are just as ill-advised. So I think this is going to be a case of keep your wits about you. We heard Jesse talking earlier about keeping patience, not getting greedy. I think that's going to serve you well. Just try and stay out of trouble and wait for the end of the race.
Yeah, you definitely have to have that patience for sure. You know, I've always been told in order to finish first, you must first finish. Patience is absolutely key. Let the race come to you. No need to go after the race. No need to attack the race. Let the race come to you. It's a long race. It's 150 laps. It's long, but it's not that long. But patience still will serve you very well. If you get too greedy early, you could end up, you know, finding yourself in the wall or finding yourself falling back in the pack. I mean, you really got to take care of those tires as well. It's not like you have an infinite amount of tires to use for this race. So everyone really has to be smart. And at the end of the day, just let the race come to you.
Can't fault these drivers, though, guys, for trying their hardest to get to the front of the field, especially with Bobby saying earlier in the race how tough it is, or in our pre-race show, how tough it is to pass. You know, a lot of guys are going to try their best to move to the inside of others and try their hardest to get around the competition. But here with this track where everybody's really packed up against that outside line, you're going to have some of that contact and some of the difference in values there when it comes to how you want to drive this track. We're ready for another single file restart here, this time lap number 29 of 150. And once again, just like the last restart, Garrett Maines in the 31 will have discretion on the restart. EPM, green flag back in the air. Garrett Maines with a solid jump to clear the field. Jesse, back to turn one.
They're going into one, and we see one diving down to the bottom. He's trying to see if he can get that run coming off, pull out to the outside, see if he can clear him. Almost does, but then you're right back into turn three. He goes all the way down to the bottom, almost in the grass, brings it back up out of turn four, through the flag. Oh my gosh, I mean, these folks they're using every bit of this track, which is really cool to see.
You know, you got to respect Zach Novak doing all that he can to make that very bottom work, as again, he will go all the way to the grass in the entrance of 3 and 4, and he will actually find a way to clear the 69 of Colin Bowden, who tries to retaliate. He'll go back to the inside, and Joe Peak will once again, Zach Novak using all the ground that he can, but the one thing he doesn't want to do is go too far down low so that everybody in the outside has a run on him, and then it's going to be so hard for him to either get back in line or to gain position, because you can easily get freight trained by everybody up at the very top.
Yeah, that was a savvy move out of Zach. He definitely was just trying to do what everybody else wasn't, just to see if it would make a difference. And once it did, he cut his losses. He immediately got into line. We're going to check out Keister a little bit farther back, who's made a few positions up, trying to get underneath the 77.
And Colin Keister started this race in 18th place, and he's already up to 11th, so a solid pickup for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver. We got one driver around in the middle of the pack. That is Joe Turco in the 15, but somehow we will not get a caution waived whatsoever might have also had a problem around the front of the field, one driver dropping back, but for the moment, we will stay green. Here's an onboard look with Jason Maines and Jesse. What's really cool about watching these ERA events is this right here, this relationship between Jason Maines, the father, Garrett Maines, the son. They've been all over the sim. They usually always race each other, and they are a lot of fun to watch when they're together on track.
They're definitely a lot of fun to watch, that father-son combo, just, parent-child, getting into the esports world, jumping on the simulators, competing against each other. At the end of the day, if one of them wins, or let's say both of them finish in the top 5, that's a lot of money coming into the household, and who knows who's going to be taking each other to dinner. But it's pretty cool to see that we have some person getting sideways driver right there, but we're going to stay green. Actually, we're going to throw the caution. But the father-son combo is pretty cool. We actually see that happening a lot with our other ERA events that we have, where we see parents and their kids competing together.
It's one of the great things about sim racing. It doesn't matter who you are, or even if you're in the same family, you can go race together. We'll see exactly what happened with the incident. Started with the 99. Austin Edwards got loose in front of Derek Fulton in the 7. It looks like they both got sideways. None of them officially go around with a 180, but race control deems it unsafe enough to throw the yellow flag, and we will be under the rest of the pace car once more at lap number 37 of 150. And Jesse, this $5,000 prize pool for the top 5 isn't necessarily the only prize that's going to be given out tonight. You want to explain a little more about the 3 pairs of VIP pit passes that'll be given out?
Yeah, so we're going to be giving away 3 sets of VIP pit passes to an actual NASCAR race, a NASCAR Xfinity Series race. We're going to be doing it for Miami, Vegas, Martinsville, and these are all playoff races for our NASCAR Xfinity Series. So, whoever wins this and a guest could be sitting right there with our Jesse Wuji Motorsports team in the pits, and sit there, enjoying the race from the pit area, not from the grandstands, not from home on TV, not from a bar, but right there in the thick of it. And it's pretty cool. You'll definitely go home smelling like burnt rubber. But the only way to do this is to make sure that you are engaged in our chats on social media. So wherever you're watching this at home, make sure you're commenting, letting, in the comments, you're talking about who you want to win this race or whatever you want to talk about in the comments. Just chat, leave comments, like, share, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Just be engaged in the chat on whatever stream that you're watching, and you have the opportunity to win some of these VIP pit passes.
Super cool. By the way, if you viewers out there ever end up winning the pit passes and you decide to go to Homestead in Miami, I will applaud you and say great decision. Full bias. One of the best tracks on the NASCAR calendar, and a super exciting race that they're going to be having later this October. Joe, I want to turn to you, though, on an interesting development with a driver who was being the hardest charger up until this point. Colin Keister in the 43 had moved his way up to about the top 10 and then decided to pit on this yellow flag.
Well, the thing is I didn't see him actually enter his pit stall. He just went through pit lane and moved to the back of the field. So I'm not entirely sure what the call is about for him, especially considering he had gained a couple other positions in that last yellow by avoiding the wreck just ever so narrowly, about inches to spare between the wall and the spinning cars.
So Keister made all of that progress, and now he's going to drop to 31st on the grid. He's going to have a lot more work cut out for him. The Charlotte Phoenix Esports Toyota Camry. We'll see if he can gain all the positions back. But it's going to be an interesting challenge for Keister. I'm sure he's welcoming it for sure. Green flag back in the air at a turn 4, lap number 42 of 150. And once again, Garrett Maines in control of the restart. Bobby Zelensky hounding on the rear end of the Junior Motorsports number 88. But Jesse, as they go through 1 and 2, rather clean. A couple of cars going side by side. But for the moment, Maines holding control.
Yeah, these battles are great. Even when they're doing these, single file restarts, some people would think, oh, single file restarts, that's not going to be fun. I mean, they're still battling it out because people can still dive down all the way almost into the grass, as we've seen, and come back up and see if they can clear someone, get in front of them. It looks like we got another caution. We got a couple cars who got sideways, one inside the inside barrier. Here at Irwindale, no one's safe. Nobody's safe. If you spin, there's walls to hit. You don't have a lot of room. It's a little bit different than some of the intermediate tracks where maybe you can spin down to the infield, get in the grass, and you'll be all right. Here at Irwindale, no, that's not the case. There is an inside wall, so if you spin down, it might not end up good for you. As we can see, got a little bit loose, tried to save it, swung it back around, took out another car, takes out another car. And man, that's rough. It's tough to see.
And look who gets by that, by the way. Colin Keister in the 43. He had another avoidance, by the way, earlier on in tonight's race, and he has it once again. A watch on board here with Keister. It all started with the 81 Sid Waters. Like you said, Jesse just got loose at the exit of turn 4, came back up the track into the 27. And that's as close as it gets. Jesse, if you're going through a situation like that, you get by a car by mere inches, what is the feeling like behind the wheel? I have to imagine it's like, wow, it has to be something insane.
What's the feeling behind the wheel? What's the feeling behind you? Yeah, sitting in that seat. Yeah, it's tough. The funny thing is, I've learned a lot of great contact avoidance on iRacing. Once you get on here, there's a lot of different folks who are on iRacing, people who are really, really skilled, and then people who are beginners. And it doesn't matter how skilled you are, whether you're really, really good or not. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody spins. Everybody has crashes. And because of it, you actually really learn how to avoid that stuff really well on here because, it does happen, right? I mean, you have a lot of different folks jumping on here, which is great. It gives an opportunity for people, no matter what your skill set is, to jump on and learn how to drive a race car, at least virtually. And you can apply a lot of things you learn from here into what you do in real life, whether you're driving a real race car or, you just, do track days or whatever it is. You can learn a ton from iRacing, especially with all the different tracks, all the different track configurations they have. I've used iRacing myself to help myself out a lot. When I was first getting into racing, I spent about 3 months learning how to drive a late model on iRacing at Irwindale because I was going to compete at Irwindale in a late model, and it helped me out a lot. I learned a lot, and I was able to, be running mid-pack right out of the gate, and I was pretty happy about that, especially for a guy like me who had never came from racing. So jumping on the simulator is really cool. But, for the folks who maybe don't want to make it to the real-life racing world or maybe don't have the resources to make it happen, you can jump into these eRacing Association events. We have 4 big Omega Cup events throughout the year. We're giving away $20,000 total throughout those events. And if you ended up winning 4 of those events, you would have $16,000. That is no joke. That's a good amount of money right there. So the only way to do it is to become a member. Go to eragaming.gg and sign up to become a member so that you can compete in our events. It's not expensive at all. I mean, it's basically just a few cups of coffee or something like that, and you can make that happen. So yeah, jump on, become an ERA member, and we have gone green.
Green flag back in the air. Race control deemed it was safe enough this time to go double file, and that does, Joe Peak, open the door for Bobby Zelensky to reach in a second. Almost fully clear. LaPrade going into turn 3. He will make it confirmed this time by out of 4. And Colin Bowden getting sketchy with Zach Novak for P4.
Yeah, still not quite clear, and they're almost looking 3 wide like we saw at the beginning. Thankfully, I think Novak was aware of that situation that time, and he decided not to try and press the issue. So down to the bottom of him, Bowden trying to see what he can do. Oh, and a little bit of a touch with LaPrade, it looks like, Kenny.
Indeed, they make contact. They will stay, all of them 3 together, but they are bringing in, Jesse, the likes of Jason Maines, Derek Fulton, and Austin Edwards. How about the recovery, though, for Fulton and Edwards? Got involved in a recent caution, and they are up to the top 10. But speaking of caution, we are under it once again. In a multi-car crash, one of them, Kyle Wisner in the 42 involved. I think the first caution he's officially involved in tonight. And Jesse, just a case of overdriving the corner. The 10 got a little bit too hot. Actually did not make contact with the 42. It looked like Wisner just lost it all by himself.
Yeah, it's tough. This track, when you're driving it, I mean, you can get pretty loose pretty quick. These cars, they lock up those rear brakes really easy. So, going into a corner, he looked all right there, gets on the gas a little bit, starts getting a little sideways. You got to be real easy on the gas on these. For this particular setup that these folks are running, a lot of them are running second gear all the way around the track. Some might be in third gear potentially to save tires, but a lot of them are in second gear, which makes it very difficult when you get back on that throttle. The car can get loose, especially if the tires are worn out. When they've gone 50-something laps now, the tires aren't really fresh anymore, and they're a little bit worn out. You got to be super smooth. You can't have a lot of wheel input on exit. You got to unwind that wheel, slowly feed that throttle, and let that car track out a little bit and just control it. It's difficult, especially when you have people next to you, especially when you're trying to keep pace, especially when you're trying to make your way up front. A lot of things can happen, but it's not easy at all. I know Kyle Wisner is actually a very skilled driver, so at the end of the day, things happen. People make mistakes, but I'm sure he'll find a way to charge back up front.
It's all about testing the waters, seeing exactly how far you can push, or really what is the threshold before the car decides to snap on you. And I like the point that you made earlier on, Jesse, about how the sim can translate to real life and what iRacing has done. They've done a masterclass job of being involved with NASCAR's process in building this NASCAR Next Gen car. And one feature that is in this Next Gen car in sim that's also in real life is the fact that it doesn't like yaw at all. You get this car sideways, the air is going to push it all over the place in the undercarriage, and this car's not going to like it. It is going to be immensely hard to save, and we've seen that a couple times here tonight involving that most recent incident with the 42 of Kyle Wisner. You get sideways, you could try to save it, but this car is not conducive to side force and doesn't like being saved at all. So once it goes sideways, it's probably going to go around.
Yeah, that's what makes these cars really difficult to drive. You got to keep them as straight as possible, especially in the corner. But I would like, eventually to see if there's a way, we can continue the development on these cars and get it to where you can, yaw these cars out, where you can step them out sideways, drive right through it. I think that makes for some great racing because people can get really, really aggressive when they know they can step this thing out, when they know they can have a lot of slip angle and they can still catch it and still run with it. I think if we can get these cars to that point, we can see some great racing and people get really aggressive and not worry about completely spinning out. When you're worried about, stepping out just a little bit and spinning out, it just makes it hard to race hard.
We will see what happens and how hard these guys race. These Coke Series drivers have been going at it for position. Green flag back in the air here at lap number 57 of 150. Garrett Maines will lead the field through to turn 1 and 2. Looks like Brian LaPrat already looking to get underneath Colin Bowden. Zach Novak again, Joe Peak, using the very inside, so he may make it 3 wide by the time we get back to the front straightaway. And here comes Bobby Zelensky with a charge on your race leader in turn 1.
Yeah, Novak's going to find a spot to slot back in again, but man, Zelensky's still trying to tuck underneath the 31. He's been doing it for some time. He just can't get a long enough run, I think, that he can find some sort of difference between the two cars, because they've been so even as he's once again going to get a run and then look to the inside. He needs something to make a difference out there, to wear out the tires of the 31, try and pressure him into a mistake. And right now, all he has is these short little sprints to just try and make desperate moves.
And he's only got the inside, Jesse, which makes things all the more tougher. And Garrett is going to be able to clear, so Zelensky's plans to get around the 31, at least for now, have been foiled. Colin Bowden will look to aim in third, so he'll try and get to Zelensky before he attempts to make another pass here on Garrett Maines. By the way, Jesse, both of these guys former winners in this EPM Omega Cup Bowl, so a lot riding for them to join Vicente Salas as other drivers to win more than one Omega Cup Bowl.
The drivers in this race, they're very skilled. I mean, we had multiple drivers in this event who have ended up winning past Omega Cup events. I mean, we've been doing these events since into 2020. We've given away thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and we're going to continue to put on these events and give away thousands and thousands of dollars. But all of them know that it's real money, it's real opportunity. We have a spinner. Is he going to take it back up? Well, he spins down to the infield. It doesn't affect any of the drivers on track. He's going to have to spin that thing back around and hope for a caution later on so that he can make his way back up. But that is tough to see right there. Oh man, that is tough. But back to what we were saying, there's a lot of money on the line. These drivers know what it is. They've competed. A lot of them competed in past events. Do all of them compete in every single event? Not really. People have different scheduling conflicts, and that's for all the members out there. Just because you sign up doesn't mean you have to compete in every single event, or come out to each one that you can. But the only way you can do it is by being a member. So make sure you go to eragaming.gg, head to our website, sign up to become a member. You also have to have an iRacing subscription as well, so make sure you're an iRacer. You can't just jump into these events without being on iRacing. So make sure you obviously support the platform that we're able to use to put on these amazing events, and just practice and get as good as you can. Jump out, don't be scared. You might not be the fastest at first, but you never know. Do 10 events with us and you might end up winning one.
You're right on board with the 78 of Julio Villalobos Jr. as he started in 9th. He's back to 18th though, so pretty much in the dead middle of the pack as you watch this quartet running around through fourth. Zach Novak again looking to the inside, this time on Colin Bowden in his 35 machine for third. And Bobby Zelensky continues to peak on the rear bumper of the 31 at Garrett Maines. But Jesse, you mentioned being an iRacing member to become an ERA member, but one thing about ERA is that they're also expanding multiple other games, multiple other platforms, so they've got an exciting future and past and present in iRacing currently, as they're casually 3 wide for second. Bowden, Zelensky, and Novak as they try to get around Garrett Maines. But the other platforms that ERA is expanding to is including all gamers, so a lot of excitement there on that front as well.
Definitely. Yeah, we're on different platforms now. Obviously, iRacing, the events we put on for Omega Cup with Equity Prime Mortgage are our biggest events. That's where we're giving away the biggest prize money. So if you want the biggest opportunity, you're going to want to jump onto iRacing. But we're also doing stuff as well, on the platform stuff on the PlayStation with Gran Turismo. And we also have Mario Kart as well. And those events aren't giving away as much money, but they're still giving away good prize money. The Gran Turismo events are about $1,000 prize pool. And then for the Mario Kart events, a little bit less than that. But the Mario Kart events are cool for kids and their parents to compete with each other and eventually get better and better on there, and then graduate eventually to iRacing. So we wanted to have all these different platforms to give people a chance to start somewhere, but the ultimate goal is to have everyone graduate to iRacing so that they can eventually race in our Omega Cup events.
I'm very thankful that iRacing does not have a banana throw option, because if that was a thing, oh man, it would
that would be interesting. Throwing the bananas out, oil spills, making people miniaturize. Yeah, that would be interesting. I think we should have a mode on iRacing, just a fun event, like just where you can just do funky stuff like that.
Hey, chaos, why not? Sometimes you got to embrace it, but one thing right here, Joe Peak, that the leaders are going to embrace right now is a bit of lap traffic. We are racing at a half-mile or Irwindale Speedway after all, so at some point if you get into a run, you are going to find some of the lap traffic. So it's now on Garrett Maines to lead this group of cars trying to chase him down and get around the traffic without any problem.
Yeah, the 31 really has got to hope that these drivers at the back of the field are willing to play nice here and give way, because this is the best hope for those 4 behind him that have been challenging for that lead. They've been poking and prodding for some sort of opening, so they need him to trip up, and getting caught out by traffic is just the ticket on that. And already look at Zelensky, he might get the high side here.
Indeed he will. Can he find the space on top of Garrett Maines? Answer is no, but they're still 3 wide. Colin Bowden in the middle, Zach Novak utilizing the very bottom. And for many of the points that we made on how tough it is to make a pass on the inside, Zach Novak has been the only pioneer to make it work. Garrett Maines is going to switch down to the bottom. They're going to make contact out of turn 4.
Will he clear him? And he clears them. He clears them out of turn 4, going into turn 1. Will anyone dive bomb? Oh, will he dive bomb? He doesn't. But we got some people sideways. So much happening.
Car in the middle of the track will stay green, and for now, Garrett Maines holds on to the lead in this 2022 EPM Omega Cup Fall Bowl. We'll have it for you on one side, we'll have the ads on the other, but don't go anywhere. We'll have more coverage of our race from Irwindale Speedway as Garrett Maines tries to fend off the battalion squad of Coke Series talent.
Do you struggle finding someone to race with, someone to compete with, or flat out someone just to give the Gap sauce? Well, you should check out the Gap'em app. Gap'em is the only app that will allow you to race people locally, share videos, and attend events. And after you race, you can actually take your racing video and post it in the Gap'em Postum section so the whole world can see. And even if you're not a racer, you can always head to our Gap'em app crew mode section where you and some friends can continue to meet up, go to car meets, go to car events, car shows, anything that has nothing to do with going to the racetrack. Gap'em is a one-stop shop for the car world. Looks like I just got a match on the Gap'em app. Time to serve someone some Gap'em beans. Ready, set, Gap'em.
84 laps complete in this 2022 EPM Omega Cup Fall Bowl as part of the eRacing Association. Glad to have you with us on iRacing's official channels. Kenneth Bueno, Jesse Iwuji, and Joe Peak along with you for the ride. And Jesse, oh boy, did we have some drama around the front of the field. Even before we went to break, we had a stunning battle between 4 drivers: Garrett Main, Zach Novak, Bobby Zelensky, Colin Bowden, you name it, all those drivers going at it. But the problem happens in front of them. Talked about lap traffic, how they could play a role into this race. It was the 10 of Jason Alexander that got into the side of the 38 of Luis Vega. They both crashed, and Garrett Mains gets involved in the mess.
Yeah, that was tough. That was very tough. I mean, these things can happen. I mean, all these drivers who are on track are good drivers, but they're all battling, and things happen. People make mistakes. People get a little sideways. People make some contact, which you can see right there. I'm sure that was just on accident, but man, it ended up taking out some of the leaders right there. I'm sure those leaders are probably not too happy about that at all. But I mean, that's the tough thing about short track racing. It happens. Everybody's all bunched up, whether you're in the front of the field, back of the field, you name it. These things can happen. You just got to be super vigilant, look for it, see what the drivers are doing, see what the battles are happening, and just try not to get caught up in it.
And there's even more drama as we've got the green flag on a restart. Garrett Mains
cars are
in the middle.
everywhere.
Look at everybody stacking up in a big crash at a turn 2. There's the 8 of Alvis, the 69 of Colin Bowden. More drivers get sideways. Christopher Reagan involved. And there is the bright green Raul Alvis machine that goes sideways. And Jesse, that looked like a problem already arising in a turn 2. Look at them, 3, 4 wide, and there's the contact.
Yeah, 4 wide. It can work if everybody is patient, but I mean, we have 4, 5, 6 wide. I mean, there's so many cars across the track. Somebody had to give, and nobody was ready to give, and that's what happens. You end up with a little bit of a pileup.
And Joe Peak, of course, started with the scuffles around the 26 machine, who had actually stayed out on his set of tires. That's why he had fallen back so significantly once we dropped the green. And Main, Salas, Novak, Zelensky, all those guys were doing their best to get around on fresh rubber. And when I look at this Irwindale Speedway, I think of it like IRP, but it's just so much smaller, so the space is much more limited. And that's where you have this instance, drivers going 3 and 4 wide, trying to make it work, but then somebody makes contact with another, and then all of a sudden, for a majority of the field, they have nowhere to go.
Yeah, I was kind of watching him during the break and saw that he was the only one that didn't come in. So I expected him to get swallowed up, but what I didn't expect was 4 wide as everybody tried to get around. So that's really, yeah, like you said, what kind of caused it. And to Braden's credit, I didn't see him really falter all that much. He just didn't have the grip. He was holding his line. He was doing the right things. And then just everybody was so desperate for an opportunity to overtake that he just naturally wound up in the center of it. And they all kind of tripped over themselves around him. Ironically, he's still in 7th.
Yeah, I was about to say, despite all the losses there in 1 and 2, the caution came out and he's still in the top 10. So if, let's say, we get some more yellows, Braden can survive on that set of tires and maybe have an edge over the competition. Just depends on how the next 60 or so laps go here from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. So just a reminder that our coverage of the 2022 EPM Omega Cup Fall Bowl is brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. Join more than 200,000 sim racers worldwide on the track and get in the driver's seat to experience virtual racing with countless laser scan cars and tracks, all from your home PC. Sign up and receive 40% off any new membership and get on track today at eRacing.com. So Garrett Maines in the race lead. Vicente Salas now holds to second. And Jesse, this is a nice recovery for Salas, who started third in tonight's race, got into a spin, and basically spent a majority of the race up until this point trying to get back to the very spot he started. And look where he is, inside the top 3 once again.
The race ain't over until Barney the flag man sings or waves a checkered flag. But yeah, we're getting ready to go green again, and it's a nice recovery for him. We'll see what he does with it. Still got Garrett up there, and it's about to get exciting. Green, 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 green.
Trying to anticipate the start by Garrett Maines, but he'll fall back to second. They go side by side for third, and it's again Zach Novak on the bottom side trying to clear ahead of the 18 of Bobby Zelensky. He will fail this time, and look who's in the group. Joe Peak, the driver who started the deepest in the field out of the Coke Series talent. Keister started 18th. He's up to the top 5 as the caution comes out again.
Yeah, he's just been bit by bit letting it come to him. Whoa.
Pile up. Pile up.
Holy cow.
Clean up on aisle 4?
Aisle 2?
Yeah.
2 straightways here. I don't know.
Yeah.
That is interesting. I did not see how this one kicked off, but clearly there was a lot of people involved. I'm trying to pick this apart.
I think there may have been 2 or more incidents that might have started. Actually, no. It started with Garrett Conrath, I believe, middle 3 wide in the 9 machine. They get together. The 3 car of Sturgill gets sideways. Some other drivers pile in. And as the 13 of Chris Papa tried to slow down, it was the 17 machine that got into him right here. There's a look at Conrath, and then they start to stack up in front as they're passing by. That's the 17 of Austin Jackson that gets into the rear end of the 13. Here's a look from the 17. The beige Ford Mustang, he gets through the pileup for a moment, and then boom.
And that car facing backwards, that's Braden Black, who actually spins himself right forwards after he sees cars basically swimming upstream past him, and then breaks the car in his spin turn. So a bit unfortunate there on his part, considering he had, man, so lucky. Look at that. Everybody just kind of goes around either side of him casually, and then he breaks it all.
And again, I talked about the lack of space, Jesse. You know, in real life, I can imagine it has to be the same thing, where if somebody gets around, a bunch of drivers get into contact, you don't have a lot of room to make a move and to really peel yourself through, especially with these NASCAR Next Gen cars that, compared to Gen 6, are kind of wide boys in their own sense.
Yeah, they're very wide, so yeah, you don't have a lot of room. Irwindale does have more room than some other tracks. You know, I would say if you go to a place like Bristol or Dover, it seems like you don't have as much room to work with. Irwindale is pretty wide, but it doesn't matter. I mean, these folks are fanning out and taking up all the space. So if there is room on the surface of the track, these folks are going to find a way to take up all of that room. So you go from having room to not having room super quick, as we saw right there.
So another caution out, and we do have word that Garrett Conrath and also with Raul Alves, both of them have disconnected, so unfortunate for them. They end up on the DNF list, and we do have word from Race Control that we will have, again, another single file restart. So we had a couple of attempts to go double file. It looks like the chaos a little bit too high, so they want to tone it down with the single file starts. Hopefully get a long green flag run. But Joe Peak, I want to turn my attention back to Zach Novak in the 28, who's rolling off 4th. He's going to be on the outside when we get back to the green flag as the lights are out on the iRacing official pace car. Novak has been really the only driver out of this field to make that very inside work, and despite all of our claims that the outside is easily the best line on this Irwindale Speedway, Novak has proven us wrong and has pretty much passed the test with flying colors as we get closer to the restart.
Yeah, I'm going to start calling Zach the catfish. He's the only bottom feeder in the bunch here, but he's making it work like you said. So, I mean, I don't know what he's got difference, but he's got it.
Well, we're ready for a green flag restart with about 50 laps to go from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. And just like I mentioned, Zach Novak immediately goes for the bottom side. He's going to be in a tussle with the 43 of Colin Keister. Jesse is Vicente Salas hunts down on the 31, but can't get the run out of turn 4.
He's trying, he's trying, he's trying. I mean, you can see folks diving down to the bottom. We'll see if that helps. They are on fresher tires now. They're not on, 75 lap old tires anymore. But even with all these spins and cautions that are happening, people have been avoiding, people have been getting sideways, people have been sliding their tires. So we'll see how that helps. Right now, these leaders are looking fairly smooth. So everyone is staying in line and doing what they got to do. We'll see how aggressive things get as people's tires start falling off, people start making mistakes. The sun's going down, the track's getting a little bit cooler. Cooler track surface means a little bit more grip. A little bit more grip means a little bit more aggression.
And hopefully, I know the aggression is going to get turned up, but hopefully we can have ourselves somewhat of a green flag run. I also got to give a shout out Rocky Boyd III in this 16 machine as you ride on board with the driver behind him, Brian LaPrade, who spun a little bit earlier on in the race and the yellow did not fly. He has since picked it up back to P7, but Rocky Boyd III started 21st. He's up to the top 6, so got to give a shout out to him. Austin Edwards as well got involved in a caution in tonight's event. He's now up to 8th. Matt Johnson into 9th, and Sid Waters, by the way, who got sideways out of turn 4 and also was involved in a crash, has weaved his way up to the last spot in the top 10. So I know we talk about a lot of these Coke Series drivers here, Jesse, but got to give credit to all the other people who have qualified for this event. All of them very skillful on the iRacing service, and it shows just how inclusive ERA is. You can be a pro, you can be a driver that isn't a pro but still has a lot of talent behind the wheel in sim, and you have a chance to compete for some prizes and to compete with some of the best in the world.
And really, that was the whole point of creating the eRacing Association, was to give sim racers an opportunity to feel like professionals, right? Professional, I think a professional driver, most people will say a professional driver is somebody who drives and makes money off of it. So, I mean, that's the most basic way to put it. And it's hard on sim racing. There's not a lot of events out there that do that, but we give away big prize money. You have opportunity to actually profit by running these events. And we have another caution. Somebody spun and looks like a little bit of damage into that outside wall.
Looks like the 13 of Chris Papa. Remember, we saw him get checked on the rear end earlier in the caution where Garrett Conwath went around, and it looks like, Joe Peak just a little bit too hard on the brakes, and that car just slides all the way up the banking. I was just expecting it to go sideways and whip around on its lonesome, but with the way he was carrying that momentum, just slid up the progressive banking and then, unfortunately, into the side of Austin Edwards.
And wow, it's lots of stuff happening here because you can see the nice avoidance there down below. But just up ahead, the leaders went 3 wide and actually made contact as well. I think it was Solis, Novak, and Keister, or possibly Zelensky involved in that. And here we go. We're going to get a view on it. They just about fell victim of what we saw in the very first laps, but thankfully kind of pulled out of it at the last moment. Here it is, Jesse.
Yeah, that looks pretty tight, and I don't know how they got through that, but they did. That is short track racing right there. You're going to see some bumping, you're going to see some grinding, but that's all part of it. But they were skilled enough to be able to hang on to their cars, gather them up, and continue to race forward.
They haven't been afraid, guys, to make contact or to race as hard as they are, especially with seeing Zach Novak working the inside lane. I figure it might have given some inspiration to some others to work that bottom, and then they go 3 wide, they make contact, but it's been beautiful racing we've seen up front. Very physical, but again, Jesse, just the nature of short track racing, and I know you understand that, having a durable car with the composite bodies on the Xfinity Series machines, but just like the Xfinity cars, Cup cars, the composite bodies, you can take a little bit of a beating and race a little physically and still be able to walk away okay.
Yeah, those composite bodies help a lot, especially in Xfinity and now in the Cup Series as well. Trucks aren't there yet, but maybe one day they will be. But yeah, you can take a little bit of a beating, especially at a place like this, Irwindale Speedway. The speeds aren't that high, so it's not like you're going 180 miles per hour and graze the wall. You're going maybe 120, 130 miles per hour or so into the corner, and then if you graze the wall, you graze the wall, and it's not so bad. But yeah, these composite bodies, they can definitely take a licking. And they're quite interesting to continue to race and bump and grind with. It's all part of it. But these drivers are going to keep bumping and grinding because $5,000 cash is on the line, and the top 10 drivers of this race will get their names on the deck lid at the the Charlotte Roval race that our NASCAR Xfinity Series team is going to be racing at. The only way to do it is if you are a member. So make sure you're a member. Member of ERA, eRacing Association. Head to www.eragaming.gg to become a member. And also tonight, we are going to be picking 2 members who are going to win pairs of VIP pit passes to the Xfinity Series playoff races this year. And then also we're going to be picking somebody who's commenting in the chat on one of the streams. So, it's not too late to throw in some comments and get engaged. But we're definitely going to be doing what we can to continue to make a lot of people happy tonight.
A lot of exciting stuff tonight in this EPM Omega Cup Fallbowl, and we are getting to the exciting part of the race. 38 laps to go from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. Zach Novak goes to the bottom, 3 wide with Brian LaPrade looking underneath Bobby Zelensky and Colin Keister, but Garrett Maines holding on. Joe Peak, Vicente Salas trying to give him a run for his money, literally.
Yeah, Vic's been holding on to him.
No pun intended.
Exactly. But, man, Zach, I still want to see what's going to happen if we get a nice long run and him continuing to run this bottom line. If they're going to go 3 wide once again, Vic's going to try and see if he can work the bottom as well, but he's doing a much shallower line.
And Jesse, you look at Novak continuing to hold out hope on the bottom. You've seen it be successful a couple of times, but as the race comes to a close and as he gets loose out of turn 2, how do you keep the patience levels up to continue to have hope to run down there? Or do you get a little antsy and say, all right, I need to be up here with these guys. I cannot experiment any further?
I think right now with 35 to go, it's not that many laps, but it really is that many laps. You got to be smart. I think going down to the bottom right now, save yourself, save those tires. You're going to need them at the end. You're not going to be making any more pit stops before the end of this race. So save those tires, be smart. Maybe just hang right in there, just stay right there on the tail of the driver ahead of you. Be smart, wait for that driver to make a mistake. Once they make a mistake, capitalize on it. But being aggressive, diving it down to the bottom, if you can make it work and not wear out those tires, great. But it is hard to keep doing that lap after lap, so you just got to be careful.
It's been a tough challenge for Novak all night long, and it was a challenge there in 3 and 4 for Vicente Salas in that 22 machine. He's rocking the 19 with his custom number. That is the scheme that he runs with Williams Esports in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and he's got a mirror full of Colin Keister in the 43. There's still Zach Novak on the bottom. But Jesse, we're getting down to the final 32 laps of this race. So again, we're racing at a half-miler. So at this point in this race, as we're going to that latter half, to the checkered flag, does the desperation start to kick up?
It's starting to kick up a little bit, especially once we get to about 20 to go. You're going to start seeing people throw haymakers. People are going to be running that wall. People are going to be diving down the bottom. You're going to see 3 wides, 4 wides, 2 wides, you name it. People are going to try to fit in places where they probably can't even fit. They're going to be doing everything they can to try to make their way up front. It's $5,000 on the line, and the winner is going home. Actually, the winner is already at home and going to have $4,000 to win. And we had a car spun right in the middle of the track. I'm not sure who we took out. That was interesting.
Yeah, 2 cars around. Started with Sid Waters in the 81. Got into the 27 of Richard Woodruff in his Toyota Camry. And fortunately, I think here, Joe Peak, nobody got into either of them. So they're able to get away rather unscathed. But just some lap traffic drama right here. The leaders were approaching them kind of quickly, and then the 27 tries to save it, overcorrects, and here comes everybody else.
Yeah, Sid has already had some trouble on this run. He was up, I believe, in the top 10 when he spun out and fell down through the order. He didn't hit anything and collected the car, and that put him next to Woodruff, I'm sure much to Richard's dismay, and that's kind of how they wound up in that spot there. So Sid and Richard, I think, got away without any sort of big damage, just kind of spinning each other out, and they're going to carry on in 24th and 25th.
So what this is going to do now, Jesse, is going to line us up for a restart with underneath 30 laps to go. Here's a look on board with the Toyota Camry of Bobby Zelensky. And one thing I noticed, and I was about to bring up, is Zelensky actually will come to pit road. He's got some takers behind him as well. The 16 of Rocky Boyd, the 3rd, looks like actually nobody else decides to go with him apart from the 71. Jason Ratchcock going to be the 3rd one in it. But some interesting pit calls. I was about to ask here, Jesse, what Zelensky and LaPrade needed to do, because they kind of fell back in that last run, didn't have much to say for the battle for the lead. So maybe this could be a change-up by Zelensky to have fresh tires, have some extra grip, and go back up to the field.
Yeah, definitely an interesting call for sure. But I think with 27 or so to go, I think once they take the grain, it'll be probably around 25 or so laps to go. Um, that's quite a few laps where those new tires are going to make a difference. Now, if it was only 5, 6, 7, 8 laps to go, I'm not sure if it would have made enough of a difference to make your way throughout the field if you had to fall to the back. But I think with the amount of laps they're going to have left to go, that's an interesting call, and it's going to be really cool to kind of see how that plays out. These drivers know what their tire wear is. They're able to pull up an option screen and view what the tire wear is on these tires. They have crew chiefs sometimes. They have spotters who can pull that up for them. They can look at that information and see, okay, after X amount of laps, this is what the tire degradation has occurred. From there, they can take that data and apply it to their strategy and see, hey, is it worth taking on these new tires at this stage? And it looks like some of these drivers felt that that's what they needed to do for their driving style. And now they're going to hard charge their way through the field and try to make it up front and become one of those top 5 finishers so they can win part of that $5,000 prize pool.
It is everybody 13th on back, and it starts with the 69 of Colin Bowden. And Joe, I figure here, if you're those fresh tire cars, you're using that Zach Novak line to get around. Green flag going to show this time by with under 25 laps to go. Garrett Maines out to the gates quickly. Vicente Salas holding on for second. And Joe, the field will fan into turn 1. We'll see where Bowden and company will work through here next as cars go around.
Yeah, that was right in front of our drivers that just took tires. So the first few managed to get through, but I think a lot of those that did not are now going to have damaged cars with that fresh rubber. So a bad combination, unfortunately. Zelensky is one that got through. You mentioned Bowden. Both of those guys only took 2 tires, and that actually managed to be critical because they would have been back, I think, in that group instead of at the front of them. So they were at the exact right place at the right time.
And it all started with, I believe, the 77 of Alex Thurber was in traffic here, just dove it a little too deep in 1 and 2, then got hit by the 51 machine of Joshua McKinney. And there's the 71 of Rashcock, who Jesse did come down pit road. So an unfortunate situation there. We talk about the likes of Zelensky and Bowden that were able to escape the chaos. But for Rashcock, he was on a similar strategy, could have gotten some great positions out of it, and just unfortunately has nowhere to go by the time they're spinning in front of him.
Yeah, that can happen for sure. I mean, going and getting those tires, as much as it's a great opportunity to have a little bit more speed on the track, what it does is it sets you back a little bit, and maybe you'll get put back in a part of the field where people are spinning, things are happening, you have nowhere to go. That's all part of it. When you're thinking about strategy, you got to think more than just about how much speed you're going to gain from the strategy and the calls you're making, but also where is that going to put you in the field? Who are you going to be racing against? Do you know who you're going to be racing against? Are these people you've raced against earlier on in the race? Do you know what their styles are? Do you know what their skills are? It's tough. It's definitely tough for sure.
So we'll have the whole field lineup once again. I do believe the lights are out on the iRacing official pace car. Indeed, confirmation that they are. So for now, Garrett Maines and Vicente Salas will be the 2 commanding us back to the green flag. Zach Novak will be inside row number 2 in P3. He will have Colin Keister to his outside, Briar LaPrade in the 88 rounding out the top 5. Austin Edwards, Colin Bowden, Matt Johnson, Cody Smith, and a handful of others looking to take away the $5,000 of prize pool tonight. Green flag back in the air with under 20 laps to go. And Jesse, they're going side by side again for 3rd. Zach Novak underneath Colin Keister, but Garrett Maines doing a solid job to hold off all the fire for now.
Everybody's going to get extremely aggressive right now. We have less than 20 laps to go. People are fanning out. We got some people running the high line, mid line, low line. People are bumping, grinding. There are slow cars in the back right now, fast cars up front. A lot of things happening right now. People are going to continue to push. People are going to send each other spinning. He's going to spin the 6. Oh, wow. There's a lot of stuff happening right now, a lot of aggression. People are getting antsy, and there is no time to wait. There's $5,000 on the line right now. They have to go. They have to go. They have to go.
And Joe Peak, that was Colin Bowden, who got hit from behind by Bobby Zelensky. He was loose coming out of turn 2, then got the extra shot on the rear bumper of his Camaro, and around he went, but no caution.
Yeah, that is really unfortunate because that pretty much takes him out of this. And Zelensky now gets to carry on as the only two-tire call with fresh rubber and just about 6 cars in front of him. If he can get a few green flag laps, I think he's sitting pretty.
Here's a look on board with Brian LaPrade. Now rounding out the top 5. He's got a good look at Zach Novak's machine. There's a look on the rear end of the Junior Motorsports Camaro. That's Austin Edwards, who files up the top 6. And Jesse, you said it, underneath 20 laps to go, coming into under 15 laps to go. So if you're Salas and everybody behind Garrett Maines, what do you do differently to shake him up?
Right now, you just apply pressure. You apply as much pressure as possible. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't even have to worry about tire wear, this and that right now. I mean, there's less than 20 to go. Your lap times aren't going to fall off that much within these last 14 laps. So apply as much pressure as possible. Try different things. Whatever you were doing before, do something different. Dive down low. Run the midline. Pump and grind. There you go. Whatever you got to do, just apply that pressure.
There was the bumper given to the 31. Can he hold the inside, though? The answer seems to be yes, as they're side by side. Even further behind for third, Colin Keister, Zach Novak going at it. They almost make contact again for the race lead. And Joe Peak, Garrett Maines again holds the outside to keep position.
My dark horse is Colin Keister here. He's been super lucky this race. Maybe that's going to carry on. I don't know if anybody's superstitious, but if we're seeing them fight that aggressively, Kenny, then those two could take each other out in the 43. Just laughs his way to the finish line in the bank.
Bobby Zelensky here on the rear side of this. You watch on board with Colin Keister. Remember here, Jesse, 16 lap old tires for Zelensky, 58 and counting laps for the guys up in front. So Zelensky has the opportunity of a lifetime to thread the needle and cut through the first 5 or so drivers to take away the $4,000 prize.
This is so interesting watching these folks battle it out. He's getting sideways right there in the interstate car. This battle is so close. What are they going to do? Who's going to get really aggressive? You have to. I mean, there's no other. You have no other choice. Someone's going to have to bump somebody. And now I'm not saying take them out, but someone's going to have to apply that pressure, get a little physical, and do what they got to do to make their way up to that lead.
And I wonder here with Zelensky on fresher tires, he hasn't really been able to make a lot of ground up. He's been using the bottom, but he continues to get swarmed by everybody on the high side. As here's a look from the rear end of Garrett Maines. And Jesse, he's been dealing with this all night long, not even just in the final laps of this EPM Omega Cup Fallbowl from the Irwindale Speedway. He's been dealing with this all race long. And here comes Salas with again another check to your bumper.
Wow, they're using each other up. And I think by the end of this race, none of these cars are going to look pretty. They're using each other all up.
He holds on for now. Novak still fighting against Keister. There's Zelensky underneath Brian LaPrade for the entrance into the top 5. But Joe, the time is running out. You've already given the bumper twice if you're Vicente Salas. Now is the time to just unleash everything and get to the 30, get to the 31, push him up the track, maybe put him on the wall.
I don't know if that's his style. I think he wants to try and get this fair and square. Yeah, he's maybe going to just let him know he's there, but I can't imagine that 22 car trying to absolutely shove him out of the way. And so far, the 31 has looked unflappable.
Do you think with the amount of pressure that at some point the driver up in front would crack? That has not been Garrett Maines. He's been checked once, twice, multiple times where he's been under fire for the race lead. And yet somehow that 31 has maintained composure at the front of the field. This time by as they battle for third on back. 3 laps to go from Irwindale. Jesse, does Salas have anything left?
Does he have anything left? We're going to find out. There's 3 laps to go, and these laps are going to turn down really, really quick. I mean, they're running 18, 19-second laps, so it's going to happen super quick. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, is he going to use that front bumper on his rear bumper? Is he going to apply that pressure? How's he going to do it? Is he going to dive down? We'll find out. 2 laps to go.
And remember, they're about side by side for the last spot to get a cash prize. That last spot held up by Colin Keister in the 43. They're going to go side by side for 6th. Derek Fulton, Brian LaPrade. But Garrett Maines comes to the white flag in this EPM Omega Cup Fallbowl from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. Salas will have one more opportunity in 3 and 4 to make something happen. He'll dive on the brakes, he'll slide up, but it will not phase the 31 Garrett Maines to victory lane as he wins the 2022 EPM Omega Cup Fall Bowl from Irwindale.
Absolutely incredible. What a great drive and what a clean drive. I mean, first through fifth, just battling it out, but everyone stayed clean. Nobody did anything too aggressive. Nobody took anybody out, and he's going to go burn this house of drift down. That's what they call Irwindale Speedway now, the house of drift. And he's about to put on a little drift show right there. And I love that he's doing it in a beautiful Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. And great job, Garrett Maines. You are the winner. $4,000 going to this man right here for winning this virtual race, the Equity Prime Mortgage Omega Cup Series Fall Bowl. Wow.
A shield that cannot be cracked. Garrett Maines holds on to the defensive end. And Joe, he's going to walk away $4,000 richer. And by the way, he joins Vicente Salas as the only other driver to win more than one Omega Cup Bowl race.
Yeah, and he had to earn it. He really had to earn it up against that other guy that has taken multiple wins to prove that he is worthy to be among that elite list. So yeah, Garrett Maines earned his stripes. I think he's going to take some lessons away from this one along with that money.
The smoke rising out of the 31 as he celebrates here from Irwindale, California. We've got post-race coverage for you, though. On the other side, we'll go through results, interviews, and all of the nitty-gritty details of the end of this race as Garrett Maines wins $4,000 and takes the EPM Omega Cup Fall Bowl. Don't go anywhere. We've got more for you coming next.
What a tremendous experience. I got to visit with the team.
Sophie said she had an absolute blast.
We're watching everything. You can smell the burnt tires.
If you're a race fan, I go, it does not compare to being anywhere else.
This is my first time at a NASCAR race. I'm here with team number 34. I've never been so close to the pits. The action is absolutely wild.
A great day to race like a kid again. There's nothing better than coming out here, having a first-class experience with Jesse Avucci Motorsports.
It's like you're part of the team. You're involved. You're seeing what's going on. You're seeing all the numbers. You're smelling all the rubber. You're right with the racers. You are right in the pit, and it's incredible. I've never been a big NASCAR fan, but after this, I'll definitely be back.
Incredible experience. Nothing compares to being up close and personal with the pit crews and the race team.
And here's how my arm stood up when I got over there that close. It was incredible.
From the grandstands, you're just watching it from a fan's point of view. When you're in the pit area, you're having more of a feeling of being with the crew.
The guys, they're so quick. It was fun just seeing it up close in action. You see it on TV, but it's nothing like it is seeing it in real life.
Beyond words how that team comes together so quick. Everybody puts their input in and gets that car back out on the road in literally seconds.
Quite the experience to be that close to the race, watching this, the stats on the board, and just meeting all the great people on this team.
What an amazing day. What an amazing race. What an amazing crew.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Struggle finding someone to race with, someone to compete with, or flat out, someone just to give the Gap sauce? Well, you should check out the Gapum app. Gapum is the only app that will allow you to race people locally, share videos, and attend events. And after you race, you can actually take your racing video and post it in the Gapum Postum section so the whole world can see. And even if you're not a racer, you can always head to our Gapum app crew mode section where you and some friends can continue to meet up, go to car meets, go to car events, car shows, anything that has nothing to do with going to the racetrack. Gapum is a one-stop shop for the car world. Looks like I just got a match on the Gapum app. Time to serve someone some Gapple beans. Ready, set, Gapum.
The checkered flag could only greet one driver with a $4,000 check, and that driver tonight in this EPM Omega Cup Fall Bowl is Garrett Maines, who leads a chunk of tonight's 150-lap feature and walks away victorious by 0.3 of a second over Vicente Salas. Got to give him credit for trying as hard as he could to shake Garrett Maines. Unsuccessful, but still, cash prize is going to him. And also Zach Novak, who made the bottom work for most of the race, and he rounds out our podium drivers here tonight. We'll try to get a word with all three of them before we wrap up our coverage here tonight. Bobby Zelensky did all that he could on the fresh rubber, but did not have enough to get to your race leader. He finishes tonight inside P4, and Colin Kieser makes a huge charge from 18th on the starting grid, and he rounds out your top 5 on the official results. Brian LaPrade in a fight with Derek Fulton for 6th. He wins that battle. Derek Fulton will come home in 7th. A solid night overall for his machine. Austin Edwards involved in a couple of scuffles here tonight, some crashes, but he rebounds to P8. Guillaume Hesnon, the 68, the French driver, comes home P9. It'll be Matt Johnson starting from deep in the field, P30, and making a huge surgence through the field. He finishes inside your top 10, Joe Peak.
Yeah, Jason Maines wound up 11th, followed by Austin Jackson, another big climber up from 25th to 12th. And Aaron Ramon did one better, a lot better, 35th to 13th. Cody Smith finished P14 today as Christopher Heights was 15th. And Josh McKinney was the last one on the lead lap. Your typical short track racing, only 16 finished every lap tonight. Mike Sturgill was 17th with Sid Waters, ending up 18th with his late problems. Rajcock was P19, 2 laps down, went to Rocky Boyd, who, despite being up towards the front at one point, fell back by the end.
Look through 21st on back the rest of the field. Joe Turco in the 15 ends up 21st. He's 2 laps down. Richard Woodruff in the 27. He went multiple laps down as well. He finishes 22nd. It'll be 23rd for the 42 of Kyle Wisner. Colin Bowden got turned around in the middle of the race. No caution flew, so he falls 17 laps down and ends up in 24th. Not a result reflective of Bowden's effort tonight. Julio Villalobos in the 78. He finishes inside the top 25. He'll have Alex Thurber behind him, 24 laps down in 26. It'll be 27th for the 80 of Nicholas Compton, 28th for Jason Alexander, 29th for the 38 of Luis Vega, and Joe Peak, the final driver, inside the top 30, Braden Black in the 26.
Christopher Reagan was 31st with Chris Papa 32nd and Raul Alves 33rd. We're getting into the DNFs from here on out. Michael Sturgill 58 laps down and 34th, along with Conrath and then Cobbler. Balmain, Weatherman, Beasley, and McQuaid, unfortunately, wound up in trouble pretty early in this race and had to call it quits. But, Kenny, I'll hand it back to you. I suppose we have some folks to talk to.
Indeed, we do. We'll talk to Garrett Maines first, Vicente Salas in P2, Zach Novak in 3rd. Jesse, though, I'll let you take the reins on this one. Garrett Maines performs perfectly, if you can describe it that way, holds off the pressure, and he's your winner in this EPM Omega Cup Fall Bowl.
Garrett, you are the winner. $4,000 coming your way. How excited are you to win at the Omega Cup Series?
I am pumped. I've been looking forward to this race. As soon as I heard that it was going to be Next Gens at Irwindale, I knew the kind of race this place could put on, and that it's didn't disappoint at all. This was a blast. I mean, the racing at the end with Vicente was everything you could ask for. And honestly, like in his position, he did everything he could without wrecking me to race me hard, which I don't think you could have asked for a cleaner race with a friend.
Yeah, I know, most definitely. And we were watching, we were thinking, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna put that front bumper on your rear? What's he gonna do? Is he gonna push you out of the way? Is he gonna just, get sideways? What is he gonna do with you? But he did run you very clean. I think he tried and tried to figure out, okay, can he find a way to pass you clean? He couldn't figure that out. You were running a perfect race, especially right there at the end. You did everything necessary to make sure you had the tire, had the equipment, had everything necessary to be there at the end and hold the position that you had. You didn't have to do any crazy blocking. You honestly just ran your line, and nobody had anything for you. So, I mean, I guess what was that strategy like? I mean, what were you thinking in your mind to make sure that you, could put yourself in that type of position to win the race?
I'm not gonna lie, I thought I screwed myself. I came down pit road and took just 2 tires, and then I found out nobody else had the same idea. So I thought I was screwed there, and I could definitely feel, especially for the first 30 laps after that pit stop, I was struggling compared to everyone else. The only thing I could do was back up my pace to the pace of the people behind me and just pray that we got enough yellows to cool those left sides off. And I felt like we got that, but it was never a fresh tire. And there at the end, when Vicente was pushing me around the track, there was not much I could do. Like, I just had to make sure I made no mistakes. I didn't give him anything. I mean, he had me jacked up coming out of the corner a few times, like multiple corrections, and I'm just like, I don't know how many more slides these tires can take before we're gonna go around, or we're just not gonna be able to put the power down. But I mean, I felt like it worked out about as well as it could, and I tried going to the bottom there. I don't know if the broadcast caught it, but I was like, oh, let me try Novak's line, and I was misunderstanding where he was running. I thought, he must be going below the apron to be making up that kind of time. I didn't know the bottom worked like that. And I cut down in front of him and then just parked and got absolutely railed. So I'm lucky to have survived that and been able to get back up in front of Bobby and continue the fight. But this race was a blast and everything I could have asked for with this car at this track.
You did an amazing job. You helped put on an amazing show. Everybody watched you. We were all super excited for you. I mean, that's just some amazing driving right there. And now you're taking $4,000, which is awesome. But not only $4,000, you are actually the winner of some pit passes, VIP pit passes to the Charlotte Roval race and Martinsville for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So you get to be right there on pit road, hanging out with our NASCAR Xfinity Series team, and it should be a pretty cool experience for you and a guest. So congrats not only in the winning $4,000, but also winning those pit passes as well, so you can experience a really cool time at one of our Xfinity Series playoff races.
Well, I might have to come say hi to Vicente down in Charlotte for that week. That'll be fun at the Roval. I've actually never been to a road course race as a spectator, so I think that will be a cool experience, especially at the Roval, being able to see a lot of the track. And Martinsville, I actually got to experience for the first time last year, and that is a really cool place. So that's a prize I didn't even know existed tonight. So I appreciate you guys throwing that in there, and I think that's going to be really cool.
Well, it's all because you're a member, right? You're a member of eRacing Association, so that's what we do for our members. We find different, unique ways to continue to hook them up. No one knows what we're going to give out, what we're going to do, but you don't really have an opportunity to even get anything unless you're a member. So thank you for being a longtime member. Thank you for competing in these events. Thank you for putting on amazing shows, and congrats on your victory.
I appreciate it. And I got to give a huge shout out to Scott at MCU Body, Lennox, the guys at Elliott Sadler Esports, Chevy Accessories, Colleague Racing, Leaf Filter Gutter Protection, Chris Rice, Elliott Sadler, and just everybody that supported me so far this season. I know we got 2 races left in the Coke Series, and I'm really excited to be in a strong position. I don't want to jinx it, but a strong position to be locked for next year, and hopefully we'll be fighting for a few more points positions. We got Phoenix coming up at the end of the year, and short tracks are definitely my bread and butter, as you can see. So I'm hoping to be able to put on a show there as well.
Keep doing a great and amazing job. Thank you so much for competing in our events. And back to you, Kenny.
A beautiful race overall for the driver, the 31, Garrett Maines. Before we get to Vicente Salas, though, Jesse, I do want to touch on some of the other people, the other members of the ERA that also have a chance to have some pit passes and some very fun Xfinity Series playoff races later this year.
Yeah, want to give a huge shout out to Michael Oppheim. He's a member down in Florida. Congrats! He is now a winner of a VIP pit pass as well, and he will have the opportunity to go to some of the races that we're going to give this to him for. So, Michael Oppheim, we're going to reach out to you and get you all the information you need. And then also too for one of the spectators who was watching this event and in the chats and commenting on this race. Rich Leventon, I believe he was on the iRacing Facebook chat. He's won a pair of VIP pit passes to the Martinsville playoff race. So congrats, Rich. We'll be figuring out a way to reach out to you. Or if you're listening to this still right now, reach out to us and make our lives easier. Just head to eragaming.gg, find our contact button, hit the email button, email us. It'll make it a lot simpler for us to get to you and figure out a way to get you to this Martinsville race.
Very exciting for all of the winners. And do got to give a shout out to Michael Oppheim, a member down in Florida, a resident there. Do got to give the thoughts to all of the Florida residents. I know they're dealing with the effects and the current landfall of Hurricane Ian as it batters through the state. But we will take our opportunity to talk with the driver who finishes second tonight, Vicente Salas. Vicente, I know you were the winner just 1 year ago, almost to the day, in the Fallbowl at the Bristol Motor Speedway. You had an opportunity to win here tonight, trying to challenge against Garrett Maines. What did you feel you needed there in those last laps to shake the 31 and take the win?
I mean, honestly, I think if we could have stayed up front there, it would have rolled a little bit better for us. Obviously, we got caught up in that incident early on. So while all those guys were kind of able to feel their rhythm and feel where they wanted to be on the track, I kind of had to make my way through the field, just picking wherever I could go, wherever there was free space. So I think if we could have, minimized on that wreckage, that we would have been a little bit better. But either way, I'm super happy to come home P2.
I know space came at a premium here at this track, Irwindale Speedway, where a lot of guys, including yourself, were riding that high side, very fast up there. So how was it to try and hold that outside, watching other drivers experiment around you, and then also trying to phase the 31 in a place that is known by many as a tough place to make passes?
Yeah, I think it was really all about just committing to wherever you were going to run. So, if you went all the way down to the grass in 3 and 4, you had to commit to that. If you went to the middle, you had to commit to that, and same for the top. So, with that, Garrett was pretty committed to running the top. He was checking me up just enough to where Colin could roll up to me, and that's kind of what kept me from getting by him. So he was definitely playing it right. But I didn't really want to move him for the win. I don't like doing that. But I didn't move him for this one. So Garrett, I know you're watching. I'll get you back in the next one. You don't have to worry about it.
Still hard fought, though. A lot of fun to watch here from the booth. I think we were shaking in our booth, seeing exactly what was going to happen. All of you guys close together in the top 5. I know it wasn't the win here tonight in this EPM Omega Cup Fallbowl at Irwindale, but you do get some cash prizes along with you, $500 for finishing second. So how do you feel about that? And do we know what's the plan for those $500 once it reaches you?
I don't know what the plan is. Trying to get in a race car soon, so probably go to that. But huge thank you to Jesse and everyone at ERA for putting on this show. There's so many great guys and great racers that race these, and as you saw in those last 20-25 laps, it was genuinely a really good race. And if I could take a quick minute to thank all my partners at Williams, Razor, Chill Blast, Fanatec, BenQ, Playseat, Recaro, and I mean everyone that supports us, Duracell for being on the car. Huge thank you to Miramar Financial and my Uncle Steve for supporting my career. Thank you to everyone over there who does so many great things for me. And thank you to my family, my mom and my dad for watching. And hopefully the next one will end up a little bit higher on the top 10.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, Vicente. On behalf of all of us here at the broadcast, want to congratulate you on the second place finish here tonight from the virtual Irwindale Speedway and wishing you the best of luck in the rest of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series season and hopefully in our Winter Bowl later this year.
Thank you guys very much.
So Vicente Salas in his Toyota Camry finishes P2 tonight, walks away with $500 to his credit. And Joe Peak, I believe you are caught up with the driver who finishes third. Can we call him the low man here tonight in this race? Zach Novak inside the top 3.
Indeed, and I had my own nickname for you there, Zach. I was saying you were the catfish down there, just bottom feeding the whole race. What were you doing that made the difference that you could run that bottom? Because we made such a big deal about this is the high line track. Everybody's going to try to be the high line, and then you did nothing of the sort.
Yeah, I was just trying to be really patient. I don't think I could have won the race if it was, just locked to the top completely. So I just tried something different, and I was really patient with it, and um, I noticed it was kind of working for me. I wasn't really making up any time, but I wasn't losing any either. So I just kind of stuck with it and figured I'll see if it saves my tires. And then we got that one really long run, about third of the way through the race, and I drove all the way to the lead doing it. And I think if that goes green, all the way to the finish, I win the race by a lot personally. But obviously, you're going to get cautions and whatnot. So I kind of figured that was going to happen eventually, and I was going to have to regroup and figure something out after a restart. And unfortunately, just didn't get quite long enough of runs to let it come in and really have my tires set up for a longer run. But at the end of the day, I mean, third is great. I'm really happy with that. Didn't prepare a whole lot as much as I'd like to, so definitely, overall happy with my pace and the result.
Well, I mean, speaking of preparation, we came in also talking about how this was an unusual combination, this next gen car here at Irwindale. Do you like kind of the novelty of having these strange mixes, or do you want the known factor that you can come in and be like, I know where I sit here?
I like these kind of tracks, or I guess like these combinations, I should say. Makes for very interesting races where I mean, typically the good guys are gonna run well, everywhere, obviously. But I think it kind of allows for some mixing up, and some guys that may typically not be in contention for the win to contend for it. So obviously, like I said, all the guys that are gonna compete for a win in this league are were competing for a win. So not much change there, but I think it did allow for some different opportunities for guys to mix and match the lines and whatnot. And I just like any track where we can race, and I think this track, I haven't raced here in a long time, probably been 3-4 years, but back then when I was racing this track quite often, it raced really, really well. So I was definitely pleased to see that it still races, like it used to. And we could put on a good show like that. I'm just very, like I said, very happy with how it raced and the result.
Well, you got the podium then, well, literally here, but also the pulpit, I guess, for everybody. So what's a combination that you would like to see for the Winter Bowl? What's a
Oh
unique one
God,
that you think would be fun?
that's putting me on the spot. Man, that's a tough one. I don't know. I'd say any short track, really. I think uh, obviously short tracks come with cautions, right? Uh, Typical, but at the same time, I think tonight we had a good mix. We had some good long runs. So I think maybe somewhere like Iowa would kind of race similarly to this. Um, and I feel like it may be a little bit better suited for these kind of cars. So I think Iowa would probably be, obviously in the next gen, would probably be my recommendation for a car track combo.
I could get down with that. I'd like that. Well, Zach, again, congratulations. Who helped put you on the top 3 steps?
Yeah, just got to thank all my sponsors. As always, Sunoco, Logitech, Makoni Setup Shop, SimSeats, JDR Graphics, everybody that helps behind the scenes with Rise Esports means the world. Thanks to all you guys for doing the broadcast. Thanks to Jesse and his team for putting this on. Definitely a lot of fun to come out here once every few months and have a chance at a lot of money. $4,000 is a lot of money. So means a lot, to have everybody putting this on. And thanks to all my sponsors once again. Thanks to you guys. And yeah, I'm really excited for the next one.
Great stuff there from Zach Novak in the 28. Going against the grain there, Kenny, to try and get himself some money today.
But he made it work, and he did get some money at the end of the 150 laps of fantastic racing here tonight from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. And just a note for all of those watching at home on the many platforms that we're broadcasting onto, if you liked what you saw here tonight in this Omega Cup Fallbowl in 2022, then you can sign up today. You can visit eragaming.gg/membership to become a member today, and you could take part in these events, and you could have a shot at multiple cash prizes and maybe even a shot at our Winter Bowl later this year in December. So guys, a lot of fun, so much fun, and great racing too. Some guys getting sideways. I know we had some cautions in the middle of it, but safe to say Irwindale with the next gens, as wary as we were about this combo, Jesse, it was a huge success. We had a great fight to the end, multiple drivers using different lanes, and Garrett Maines walking away with $4,000 and the checkered flag.
Yeah, it was definitely a great race for sure. I think we saw a great combination of great track, great drivers, great car. And also, too, a lot of people pretty much kind of noticed that we went from sunset all the way to night, right? So the weather was changing, the lighting was changing, the lights came on, the crowd was going crazy, the virtual crowd. It was super exciting. But at the end of the day, we have sim racers who were in their homes in the middle of the night, racing for $5,000 real cash. Once again, it's not an IOU, it's not a credit, it's not a gift card. This is real cash that you can use for whatever you want. If you want to take that $4,000 Garrett ended up winning, if he wants to take that money and go sponsor himself to get into some type of racing in real life or whatever he wanted to do, he can do that. But you can only do that when you race with the eRacing Association. So the only way to do it is to become a member and race in our Omega Cup Series events on iRacing. iRacing is an amazing platform to get really, really good at racing. It can help you out a lot for real life racing because the tracks are very much close to what they are in real life. The cars feel very, very close to real life. It's just a great platform overall, and that's why we put on our biggest events on there. So our EPM, Equity Prime Mortgage, Omega Cup Series events, we do 4 big ones a year, once a quarter. Our next one's going to be coming up in December. What track are we going to be running on? We'll let y'all know once that time comes, but right now, just get good at racing, period, and then come race with the eRacing Association.
I was about to stay on that topic, Jesse, about the next Omega Cup Bowl, because if this one gave us a spectacle, how is it going to be in December, Joe? And it was a lot of fun tonight. Guys like Garrett Maines, Zach Novak, Vicente Salas, Bobby Zelensky, I mean, you name it. The whole field going at it for position, providing us a beautiful show to watch in the broadcast booth. And now, whenever they announce that combo come December, I think we'll be ready. We'll be ramped up for that action in a couple of months' time.
Yeah, and I got to think that especially anybody who sees this is probably going to be thinking, all right, if those guys can get in there, I can get in there too. So, yeah, it's going to draw in some incredible talent once they make that announcement, and I'm eager for it because I loved getting to see this today. Seeing this unique challenge really made all the drivers get creative and gave us some fantastic racing.
A lot to look forward to and a lot that we've already seen tonight here from the virtual Irwindale Speedway. Have to thank a lot of people for making tonight's event and everything for the eRacing Association possible. A huge thank you to Equity Prime Mortgage and all the other partners for allowing us to put on these events and to watch these celebrations as Garrett Maines burns it down here from Irwindale. A big thank you to iRacing for letting us use their platform tonight and to give you the spectacle of these guys ripping it at this track tonight. And for Matt Casto, Kevin Johnson, Sean Yoder, and everyone behind the scenes at the eRacing Association. For Brandon Davis and Michael Hall in Race Control tonight. For Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, John Theodore at Podium Esports. And for our broadcast team tonight, Ryan Bauer producing all the shots this evening, Cameron Aubernon on our social media pages, and for my colleagues in the booth, Jesse Wuji and Joe Peak, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long and good night from the virtual Irwindale Speedway, and congratulations to Garrett Maines on taking the 2022 eRacing Association Equity Prime Mortgage Omega Cup Fall Bowl. We'll see you then in December, but until then, good night.
Do you struggle finding someone to race with, someone to compete with, or flat out, someone just to give the Gap sauce? Well, you should check out the Gap app. Gapum is the only app that will allow you to race people locally, share videos, and attend events. And after you race, you can actually take your racing video and post it in the Gapum Postum section so the whole world can see. And even if you're not a racer, you can always head to our Gapum app crew mode section where you and some friends can continue to meet up, go to car meets, go to car events, car shows, anything that has nothing to do with going to the racetrack. Gapum is a one-stop shop for the car world. Looks like I just got a match on the Gapum app. Time to serve someone some Gapple beans. Ready, set, Gapum.